Okay, quick music disclaimer here. I do not own the rights to this music, which belongs to the rightful owner, who is the intoxicating mind of Dr. Frankenstein. So he made my intro and my outro, and I hope you guys enjoy. Check them out on Spotify and YouTube, and no copyright infringement is intended. Have a good day.
A clear choice of good versus evil, of right versus wrong.
Twisted Tales.
Welcome back to Twisted Tales, folks. I got my next little tale here for you. So this one's about an elderly couple who were going on vacation, and they were last seen July 3rd, 2010. They were on a road trip from their hometown of St. Albert, Alberta to Chilliwack, BC. This episode, we're going to talk about the killing of Lyle and Marie McCann. Okay, so I'll give you guys a little bit of a background here. So Lyle Thomas McCann was born on August 24th, 1931, near the city of Red Deer, Alberta. He was one of 6 children. He was a long-haul trucker for many a year, and he enjoyed his trips when he was traveling through North America. Now, Marie McCann was born October 15th, 1932. She was born in Torrington, Alberta. And Torrington, Alberta is actually like a little hamlet in central Alberta. And a hamlet would be a settlement that is smaller than a town or a village. She was also one of 7 children. And the couple were married on July 30th, 1952, also in Torrington, Alberta. They resided in St. Albert, Alberta, since 1964. The city of St. Albert, where the couple lived, is a city in Alberta on the Sturgeon River, northwest of the city of Edmonton. The couple had 3 children, Trudy, Brett, and Lance. Lyle's parents were Tom and Estelle McCann. Marie's parents were Emil and Anna Waltz. Now, on July 3rd, summer was just breaking through. Lyle and his wife had left St. Albert and headed for British Columbia. The summer was warm and definitely a time for traveling. Lyle and Marie were just a few weeks shy of their 58th wedding anniversary, so they decided to pack up their motorhome with supplies, and they decided to venture off on their vacation. Like I said, Lyle was he was just a guy who loved to tell his long-haul trucker stories to friends, family, pretty much anybody, right? Because traveling all those miles and kilometers between Canada and the United States, he definitely acquired some stories over the years. And Marie, people kind of remember her as just a kind, caring, and gentle soul. Friends recall that she had a love for baking and often baked pies for friends and family. She was just a fun-loving lady who was known to care about her family. Now, the two had their light green Tucson SUV packed, and they were hauling it behind their green and white Gulfstream Voyager RV, a 1999 edition. Now, the plan for the trip was to meet up with some family, do some sightseeing, and just enjoy themselves before they had their anniversary. As the couple's RV was all packed, they decided to make their way on vacation. Over the duration of the trip, they were going to go pick up their daughter Trudy at the Abbotsford International Airport in British Columbia. Now, this will be on July 10th. The couple were last seen pulling into Superstore gas station to grab fuel for the RV, and this would be in St. Albert. They were possibly traveling the Yellowhead Highway. Now, the Yellowhead Highway, for those that don't know, is a major interprovincial highway in Western Canada. This stretches across 4 western parts of Canada: British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. So this will be part of the Trans-Canada Highway System and the larger National Highway System. The vacation was back on after the stop to get some fuel, and Superstore gas station will be the last known whereabouts of the couple. On July 5th, around 7 p.m., firefighters and police officials have received a call about a motorhome set ablaze at Minnow Lake Campground, about 35 kilometers from Edson, Alberta. There were no bodies found in the RV. Police, however, did find Lyle's registration of the vehicle, so police phoned the couple's home to notify them of the RV. As burning vehicles aren't actually all that uncommon up here, so police received no answer when calling. So they sent officers to their home to do a wellness check. And there was nobody around the home either. The couple's green SUV was also missing from the scene. It was unhooked from the RV. Now, police had to link the burned motorhome and the missing couple together. So they began air and ground searches and began suspecting foul play in the investigation. They also received tips from the public about a person of interest, a man named Travis Vader, a 38-year-old with no fixed address. So just a little bit about Travis here. Travis was born in Alberta. He had multiple outstanding warrants and one hell of a criminal history. He had such charges that included like vehicular theft back in 1995, possession of break-in tools, operating an irregular vehicle and trailer, and stealing and burning trucks. There was a few other firearm-related charges as well back in 1999. So the kid spent most of his childhood with his father, stepmother, and sisters. This wasn't until like the family ended up moving to Neaton Junction. This was west of Edmonton in his teen years. Now, Neaton Junction is a small hamlet, like I mentioned earlier, a small town or village in west central Alberta. And this is also located within Yellowhead County. The guy is over 6 feet tall, red hair, hazel eyes, and he's a man known for like his sweet side, but he also had an intimidating temper. His father, Edward Vader, describes his son as a fairly normal kid who got into fairly normal problems. You know, like we all do, drinking, fighting, little shit like that. So after high school, Travis started working in the oil patch. He got married and had 6 daughters, and he was a stepfather to his current girlfriend's son as well. During those years, the guy carried himself well. He had succession in the oil field industry, like we all try and gain when we move out here. And the guy was an active father and did what he could for his family. And that's all we strive for in life. You know, just to be loved and cared for by our families. And everything went to shit shortly after. The family house burned down, and Travis's wife moved out. This was in November 2004. She took all of the 7 children with her, and they were all under the age of 13. So Travis's wife, Victoria, she told the Edmonton Journal, which is a daily newspaper out of Edmonton, that she returned to the house to gather up some clothes, and she found the house in flames. She said, quote, "I'm looking at this as a sign that my marriage is now over. This is now a new beginning for us," stating that it was a very bad year for the family, and they're hoping that years down the road will be better. So, by the summer of 2010, Travis was a well-known person to residents around the area. He was heavily involved in crystal meth, and he was like had this tough guy individual. So he often scared the shit out of people, right? Because he was stealing shit and, you know, wrecking houses. So the guy was bad news. On July 3rd, 2010, one of Travis's friends, Dave Olson, had seen him in the morning driving a Ford F-350, and he was bitching about not having any money. So later in the day, he rolled back up in a green Hyundai Tucson SUV, and he bought beer for everybody, and he even added minutes to his cell phone. So he was flaunting some money around, even though he was broke earlier on in the morning. So the cell phone, he placed several calls from that. 2 text messages were sent, and the phone that he was using wasn't his own. It was actually the murdered couple's cell phone. And these texts and phone calls were placed around 2 p.m. The texts were sent to his ex-girlfriend, Amber Williams. Now, she believed that the text came from Travis, as they made reference to their relationship, and more messages were sent throughout the day. So the guy wasn't too smart. making phone calls from the victim's phone and parading around in their stolen vehicle. And, that's got to fly on police radar. So there were sightings and everything about the green vehicle driving around because they wanted this guy for questioning in the fire. So police were definitely on the lookout for this guy. And he wasn't even taking a break or anything. He wasn't even trying to hide. He was just out in the open. As police started to continue the search for the couple and the vehicle, on July 13th, 2 people went into the Prince George, BC police station, and they made a report of seeing the green car like the one driven by the McCann family. And they gave the license plate ZPK 289. On July 16th, 2010, RCMP announced to the public that the green SUV was found off a trail near Edson, Alberta. RCMP looked into Travis as a person of interest in the case, and they released his photo to the public. On July 19th, 2010, Travis was located and arrested on charges unrelated to the case. His previous outstanding warrants and all that. So he was arrested near Neaton Junction, Alberta. He was arrested with another man whose name has been released, and both men were questioned in the disappearance of the elderly couple. The second man that was arrested with Travis was released without any charges laid. On July 27, 2010, Travis Vader's sister, Bobby Jo, revealed to the media that her brother stayed with the family on July 4th. This was the day after the couple went missing. She remembers him being very tired and sick-looking and that he just wanted to rest. Now, while he was still in custody for his previous crimes, Travis was announced that he was a suspect in the disappearance of the case. This was on August 31st, 2010. Then on September 10th, RCMP announced a property search of a property south of Nojak, Alberta. The search ended on September 14th, 2010, and the police ended up searching piles of debris, a septic tank, and even a pond that was nearby. All this was checked by a dive team, but they found nothing related to the case. Now, a year or so later, on July 20th, 2011, a court judge declares the McCanns dead, just so their wills and estate can be processed. December 22nd, 2011, Travis Vader is sentenced to 33 months in prison for his previous crimes. The ones related to the arsons, the break-ins, the guns, all that stuff that happened in the Whitecourt, Mayerthorpe, and Barrhead areas of Alberta. Now, as he sat in custody, the guy had nowhere to go, so police were just racking up charges on this guy. So April 18th, 2012, he's now charged with first-degree murder of the McCanns. May 1st, he's convicted of drug trafficking, weapons charges, and these were, again, from the Barrhead, Alberta area. October 19th, 2012, little before he could be sentenced, a judge declared a mistrial because evidence was not properly disclosed to the defense. Justice June Ross had cited the RCMP as negligent and ordered a new trial. Now, as the case continued on February 7, 2014, Travis had filed a lawsuit against the RCMP and other justice officials, claiming that they kept him in jail on trumped-up charges just until he could be charged for murdering the McCann family. Now, March 19, 2014, Travis now had a few days to go before he faced trial for the murder charges of the family. But Crown prosecutors entered a stay of proceedings because they found out that police haven't disclosed all the evidence. Now, a stay of proceedings is when a judge or Crown decides that it's bad for the justice system to continue on with the present case. Now, back down the timeline here. April 22nd, 2014, Travis files a second lawsuit alleging wrongful prosecution and misconduct by prosecutors and police. On October 8th, he's found not guilty on the previous charges of drug trafficking, theft, and weapons. On December 19th, 2014, he is again arrested and charged with the McCann's murder and released on house arrest. Now, we're going to fire off 2015 here. While he was on house arrest, he ended up actually assaulting his common-law spouse in Barrhead, Alberta. And then he's arrested for that, and then he's arrested again on July 13th. Like, what I don't get is why a murderer was on house arrest and all this other shit, how he didn't get any time. But I mean, like, he kind of did serve time as he was, like, waiting in custody and shit, but whatever. December 15th, 2015. The court releases documents showing evidence against Travis that include, like, really hard forensic evidence, like fingerprints and cell phone records, because he used a cell phone. And they even had a hat that was worn by Lyle that had a bullet hole in it and a little bit of blood spatter. On January 26, 2016, Justice Denny Thomas had denied an application to drop the case, even though there were a little bit of mistakes by the RCMP. Now, March 8th, the trial officially goes underway, and the daughter of the McCann's family actually testified against Travis. And, like, this trial had a lot of delays and whatnot, mostly because of Travis. Like, the guy did so much stuff between house arrest and court. And, you know, he was even arrested at his trial at one point because of shit that he was doing while he was out on house arrest. And, like, police discovered, like, that he breached his bail conditions, and they ended up laying new charges on him a few days later. They included, like, breaking and entering and whatnot. So as the trial continued, this was going to be a huge trial. Lots of people, reporters, police officials, everybody was all over it. And the family ended up dealing with a lot of shit during this too, like the kind of guy that Travis is, and all the details of everything, and wondering where the hell their parents' bodies were. So this is kind of why I went down the timeline shit with this. It's just to give you guys, like, a feel about how it all shook down. I just wanted to give you guys a detailed version of it, and a little bit of the outcome. Like, as I said prior, like, the coverage of this case was unreal. So a judge actually allowed cameras in the courtroom so they could broadcast the verdict. Now, this only happened mainly because news outlets had filed a court application so they could get in and broadcast this. Now, 3 days later on Halloween, the justice finds Travis guilty on manslaughter. And a few months pass, they go into the new year, January 25th, 2017. Justice Thomas sentences Travis to life in prison with no parole eligibility for 7 years. And he actually dismissed a defense submission about Travis getting a lighter sentence because of his rights being violated and this and that. Now, his rights went out the window when he took it upon himself to murder a defenseless couple traveling on vacation. And that's just my thought. And Lyle's son Brett made mention that the family just wants to move on with their lives, and they hope to one day learn the whereabouts of their parents' bodies. And who wouldn't want to after something like that? Like, Brett and his dad were very close. The pain of not knowing where they are, and the countless thoughts of, like, what his parents' dying moments were like. And in court, he mentioned all too often that my thoughts of my parents are interrupted by thoughts of Travis Vader killing them. As Brett was in the courtroom, he said to his parents' killer, "Where are the bodies of my parents?" And I myself couldn't even imagine having to ask that question. Brett now mentions that since his parents' disappearance, he has more anxiety now, and even like when somebody in his family travels, like his wife or children or whatever, he makes sure that they call or text when they're stopping mid-trip. And if somebody doesn't message back pretty promptly, like that's when he starts to worry, and that's when his trauma and anguish, all that shit kicks in. Because that's a lot of stuff to hold on to. And all of this was just over a robbery that turned into a murder because a drug addict wanted another fix. And I guess that kind of ends things up, right? Like, Travis now sits in jail for his crimes, and it sucks that the family had to go through this. They couldn't have their trip, they lost their parents, and they may never know the location of their bodies. Because Travis is a piece of shit, and he'll never admit to that. He's a coward. But a bill known as McCann's Law, well, actually, this was passed down in the House of Commons by Dane Lloyd. So this bill would actually give law enforcement the ability to use the refusal to provide the location of bodies or remains for harsher punishments for convicted killers, or like longer ineligibility periods for parole. And even though like the trial took so long to get going, like the trial delays throughout this case were fucking a joke. Like I said, mainly because Travis would prolong them. Like, he used to show up late, saying that he had car troubles, a flat tire, and, like, they even had to test him for drugs throughout the case. Now, Vader's father, he also had a falling out with Travis, and when the police were searching for him, his father was telling people in the area to turn them in if they saw him and notify police of his whereabouts. So when Travis's mugshot was plastered all over TV, and he was named a person of interest, his father warned people not to corner him because he was too dangerous. Like, the father even said he wanted him arrested for the longest time, stating that Travis and him, like, they no longer talk, they had a falling out. So Travis was actually just too wrapped up in the world of drugs, being financially unfit, and it was just one of those wrong place, wrong time kind of situations. And even during the searches of the missing couple, billboards were actually put up along the highway west of Edmonton, Alberta. And it advertised a $60,000 Crime Stopper reward to be given to anyone with information on the case that led to an arrest. It also included the Crime Stopper's phone number, and there was a couple pictures of Lyle and Marie. The family also passed out flyers during all this, missing persons flyers. It was mainly to people that were buying hunting licenses, right? Because there were a lot of people traveling in that area, like going into the bush, other areas. So the flyers would just would try to help, just in case anybody stumbled across anything while they were out there, anything that's out of the ordinary regarding to the case. The highway signs that were placed were about $650 each, and the billboards were up for a period of 6 years. They became a fixture for motorists that were passing by. So, even a little time after the trial, Brett McCann actually decided it was time to remove the billboards, and he found it to be in a very emotional time. Like, Brett even said, he can't quite bring himself to abandon all hope that his parents' remains will be found. He said, "I'm hopeful, but not all that optimistic. It's unlikely that someone would find them, but we're hopeful it'll still happen." And he mentioned this to a news team. He just wants to be able to give his parents a permanent resting place. Now, the advertised money for the $60,000 that was originally used for tips to the crime had been raised through corporate and mostly private donations, but it was never claimed. So the money will be used by Brett for a permanent memorial to his parents. His parents loved nature, so he's looking for, an artist that can make a vision into a reality. So he's thinking on something like a pair of loons on the lake with a plaque, and the plaque would actually tell their story. So he wants to place it into a park called Celebration Garden, and this is located in St. Albert. He's going to call the piece Darling, because that's what the two called each other. So, this case has been followed closely by a lot of people around Canada, and beyond, I'm sure. And I know I'm not the first to cover this tale, and definitely not the last. But This took me a little bit to research this, and I hope you really enjoyed it. So, I dedicate this episode to my girlfriend Carla, because she always kept me going with this. There's times I just didn't want to do them, and then I do them, and I feel like I'm not doing as good. So she reminds me that I'm doing just fine and to keep going on with them. So thank you for that. I love you. And I'm actually going to pop some news clips on here about the trial and whatnot. You know, a little news interview and things like that. So I appreciate you all tuning back into Twisted Tales. If you want to give me a rating and follow, I'd appreciate that. That'll get everything heard and, it'll just get everything out there a little bit more. So thank you very much, folks. I hope you have a wicked day. Enjoy the rest of your work week. Thanks for tuning back in, folks.
The RCMP has charged Travis Vader with first-degree murder in the deaths of Lyle and Marie McCann, who you see there on the screen. The couple disappeared almost 2 years ago, and their bodies have never been found. Brett McCann is the son of Lyle and Marie McCann. He joins me now on the phone from St. Albert, Alberta, for a reaction to Vader's arrest. First of all, Brett, what was your reaction that you heard Travis Vader had been charged over the weekend?
Well, we're viewing this as a good day. Our immediate reaction was just a sense of relief. We've waited a long time for this arrest, as you said, going on 2 years. We really view this arrest bringing us, one step closer to finding out what really happened to my parents.
Do you have any idea yet what happened to your parents?
No. I mean, we meet regularly with the police. Our family does every 6 weeks ago or so, and they've been keeping us sort of up to date with the status of their investigation. But there's a lot of information that they just don't share with us that's, I guess, now relevant to the trial. So I don't know, why they decided to charge now.
Okay.
But,
They must feel they have some evidence such that would allow them to lay these charges.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, they've been so. I mean, this is such a high-profile case, and over the last 2 years, they've been so diligent in this investigation. From what I've seen, that I'm sure that all the pieces to the puzzle are clear to them.
Do you know if they are investigating anyone else in connection with the deaths of your parents?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. And so, Brett, what's it been like for you all of this time? Because this has been going on since July of 2010.
Well, it's just been an ordeal, as you can imagine. I mean, we've been doing everything we can to keep this in the public eye, because we're sort of always been hopeful that somebody somewhere knew something about where my parents are. So we've been doing poster blitzes and putting up billboards on highways, and the list goes on that we've been, as a family, we've been trying to just keep this in the public eye, and we raise a reward of $60,000 for any information that helps us find our parents. So when I look back on the last 2 years, it's just amazing to me, everything that we've done and we're still doing to try to keep this on the radar.
What are the questions that you want answers to the most?
Well, I'd really like to know what happened in that initial encounter with my parents, and more than that, we need to know where my parents are, what happened to my parents.
There's still no indication.
Not that we've been told. I'm hopeful now that Travis Vader has been arrested, that maybe he can help us find our parents. Or I know this may come out in the trial, but I'm hopeful that it may come out earlier.
Daniel Moll, Vader's lawyer, Travis Vader's lawyer, is quoted as saying today, "My client is relieved to finally have an opportunity to face these accusations." What do you say?
Well, that's good, because my perspective, I just, the RCMP has told us throughout this case that they felt that Vader had something to do with my parents' disappearance, and hopefully he wants to step forward and say what he knows. And now his is the opportunity, apparently.
All right. Brett McCann, the son of Lyle and Marie McCann, speaking to me from St. Albert, Alberta. Thank you very much for taking the time. I know this must be a very emotional day for you.
Thank you very much.
The Crown has asked for a life sentence. Our family really supports that. Now, over 6 years after Vader killed my parents, their remains have still not been found. It is very important to myself and my family that my parents' remains be located and buried properly. I think it is a critical component of our grieving process. And the one individual who knows where my parents are has said nothing. Travis Vader, where are the bodies of my parents? Vader has shown no sign of acknowledging that he even caused the death of my parents. He shows no remorse for what he has done. I want Vader to know that our family is at this and any future hearings, and we will demand to know where he put the bodies of my parents. Our loss is huge. Our pain is everlasting. We will never forget, and I will never forgive what Travis Vader has done.
Twisted Tales.